Hello.
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 Let's go!
Hey, kids.
Hey, Dad.
War crimes will be prosecuted.
Let's have a Liberty City, burn it to the ground.
Does the word duh mean anything to you?
Yeah, I chose this profession, so therefore I earned beer.
You want to go to the matinee?
The feeling is definitely there.
You don't know my name!
It's a new morning in America.
This is the old dude, Howard J. Reynolds.
Step into my office.
There's not going to be too many punks.
Don't you stop worrying about the punk.
Fuck you. That's my name.
Yeah, let's go to the punk rock show.
Introducing for your listening pleasure.
Hello, and welcome to the High Fives Punk Rock Podcast, episode 104, the year 2002, or so I'm told. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It's going well. I just got back from my Thanksgiving dinner, so I'm stuffed with too much food. And yourself?
I'm doing well.
All right.
Did not have the big dinner today, but I'm glad you had a chance to eat way too much, and we'll probably fall asleep halfway through this recording.
Yeah, for non-Canadians, it's Thanksgiving weekend in Canada, so I don't know what we celebrate Thanksgiving for. I don't think it has to do with the same connotations in America, but I'm not entirely sure. No one ever told me.
It's all about having a day off in October.
Yeah, we're recording this one a little bit earlier than normal too, because I'm getting my wisdom teeth taken out next week, which I'm terrified of. And Justin tells me that it is nothing to joke about. So I believe your words were, it felt like somebody punched you in the face when you woke up.
Yeah, I told you it was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Good. Pretty stoked about it.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah. Should be exciting. Speaking
and
of
like all things, it gets better the older you get. I'm sure the recovery will go smooth and
oh yeah, the dentist told me, he's like, yeah, you know what's great about it? When you're older, it's way worse. I'm like, thanks. That's what I wanted to hear. I'm terrified of like needles and terrified of surgery and all that sorts of things. So, it's what I wanted to hear.
I do wish you luck.
Again, horrific things. Halloween, Justin, do you have Halloween plans? Do you like Halloween? I feel like you don't like Halloween.
A lot of people say that. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday.
Really? Like I know.
Yeah. I'm not like I used to really like when we were in our 20s and 30s, like I really liked like dressing up, and used to always have like a great Halloween party. And it was just like, that's it. It's one day. That's it. I like, actually really like Halloween decorations. Like I love it when people go all out decorating their houses. It's great for when the kids go out and they like get super excited to go to all the decorated houses. They won't even go to houses that aren't decorated. Even if I'm like, the doors are open and the lights are on. They're like, yeah, but there's no like giant inflatable on the lawn. So it must not be.
So the key is no decorations and I get to keep the candy.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Good to know. Do you have a Halloween costume this year? No, I'm guessing you don't dress up.
No. Every once in a while at work we'll do a costume, but that's about it. I don't do anything when I go out with the kids.
I was thinking about Halloween the other day, and I was like, I think the best Halloween was the Dirty Bourbons Halloween.
100%. It's legendary.
The story is that we somehow we booked a show without a band. Is that how it really happened? There was no real band. It was just a joke.
Yeah, we made up the band.
Well, I knew the band was made up, but I don't know how the show was booked.
It was booked before we had a band.
And then it was going to be Misfit covers, but then just like some originals. And it turned into just this glam metal band that had no real songs, but you guys actually wrote some songs. I got roped in and I don't know how to play any instruments. And I just like wore leather pants.
You had a guitar that was not plugged in.
I rigged my thing with fireworks. I almost great whited that whole bar, which is a horrible, like looking back, I'm like, that was a bad idea.
You're shooting fireworks off your guitar.
And then like we were opening for quite a big Calgary band, and I believe we played for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I think we played.
And they were really mad because I think they only got like...
Yeah, we played probably for 45 minutes, less than 3 songs.
Yelled at people. I kicked a bunch of people. It was it's Halloween to live for.
Couldn't top that one.
Yeah. I believe my girlfriend at the time broke up with me like 2 days later.
It's because you took her pants.
I got to keep her pants. They were nice leather pants. Got some good use out of them. And now you know too much about me. And on that note, let's get back to some more Justin questions, because I did actually get some comments back about your goal song question, which I thought was rad.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I got a couple good compliments on it. It was great. So I got 3 more questions for you, Justin, if you're ready.
All right. I did say I was going to prepare questions for you, and I did not. So I know you called. You told me that would happen, and it did. You were right.
Yeah. So the first question, Justin, what's a one-hit wonder song for you? It doesn't have to be an actual one-hit wonder, but like, what's a single you love and you would never have to listen to anything else from that band or artist? So it doesn't have to be like say like a Take On Me sort of thing, but like even in the punk genre, it's like, for me, I would say something like that Digger song, My Hat. Like, I don't need to hear any other Digger songs, but My Hat, I would love that song every single day of the week. So what's a one-hit wonder song for you?
That's a great question. I'll try to keep it in the genre.
And not Bruce Lee.
That was popping into my head. I mean, this is very topical because of the theme for today's episode, but Swing Swing by the All American Rejects, I think, is going to come in as one of those. It's like it made me think about them for this episode because I think that album came out in 2002. I don't care about anything else in their catalog. I have no idea what the rest of their stuff sounds like. I've heard a couple other singles and they all sucked, but that song is great.
No holding back, eh?
They didn't suck. They just weren't good.
Swing Swing's a great song. Okay. Have you seen the movie Baby Driver?
I have.
Okay. So in the movie Baby Driver, there's just a discussion about a getaway song. And I know you used to like to drive fast. I'm going to assume you still drive fast. We don't really drive together like we used to, but I'm going to assume you still drive fast. Is there a getaway song for you?
So I do still drive fast. It's usually like things like on the way to hockey because it's late at night and there's nobody around, and like music cranks, trying to get like a little bit, pumped up for not scoring goals. So a great one for that is Wake the Dead by Comeback Kid.
Oh, yeah. Great song. Great song. That's a good pick. That's the best Comeback Kid song. Too,
again, yeah, they have quite a few others, but that one just slays.
Okay, and last one, Justin. You get to book a show where a band plays an album front to back. What band and what album? Dead or alive? The band could be long dead.
I was thinking, okay, so I get to it's not bringing a band back, it's putting a band back together to the original lineup, or at least strong guest appearances, and it would be John K. Sampson coming back to do Less Talk, More Rock with Propaganda. And still, like, I would still have like Todd in there. Like, it'd be like a collab stage kind of thing. Like when
that's fair, but front to back
like
album.
When David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar toured together.
With less drugs?
I didn't say less drugs.
Okay. That's fair. Thank you, Justin, for that informative...
What great questions. I look forward to not asking you questions next episode.
Well, I guess since we are still in a question mode, what were some of the albums you were listening to since our last recording? I realize it might be short since we recorded not long ago and we're rushing this one a little bit. So,
it has been a little bit tougher for me to get into some new music since we talked last. So the pickings are a little bit slim, but two that I've been really enjoying and look forward to spending more time with. The first is the new Drug Church album, which came out quite recently, and I have given it a number of listens through. It doesn't sound like it's anything from a big departure standpoint, but they also have such a unique sound, and especially from a vocals perspective, so I don't expect them to change very much, but just like good continuation from their previous stuff.
Cool. I'm here. Actually, I've only listened to it really quickly, but I'm hearing lots of really good things. Like, I know in the WhatsApp group, everyone was kind of gushing over it.
Yeah, I think it takes like maybe a listen or two to sort of pick up on the little hooks that are in there, and then they sort of grab hold of you. So I look forward to going back to that one. And off a very similar vein, in terms of like unique vocal style, is the new Touche Amore, which also just came out. And I really liked, like Stage 4 is an album I go back to on a very regular basis, more so than their more recent release. But I look forward to listening to this one a little bit more and getting to know this album and everything that the band is bringing forward with their newest release. I
gave this one a listen and I really liked it. I would like Stage 4 is my favorite of theirs, and this feels almost as good as that one on a quick listen. Really good so far.
And then It's not really a throwback. It's not even a particular album that I've gone back to, but I did want to bring it up for discussion. Now that the band is officially done and retired. So NOFX called it quits last weekend, played their last show.
Allegedly.
And it has actually had me going back and listening to a lot of old NOFX stuff and sort of reminiscing a lot about that band in particular, who I think did so much, not just for me, but for so many people in terms of like being just this like the kind of quintessential punk rock band that got so many of us into the genre, and at least for me, have been a band I've gone back and listened to on a regular basis over 30 years. I've seen them live a number of times, more than enough, usually worse than better. And as that show got closer and closer, and like I didn't even bother going to see them in Edmonton when they were here this summer. But as that final show got closer and closer, I'm like, maybe I should have gone. And then seeing the footage from the last show, I was just like, damn, I should have gone. I kind of feel like I missed out.
Yeah, I'm so torn on it. Because same thing, like I've seen them so many times that I was like, I don't need to see them again. And then as that weekend came and I started seeing footage, I was like, I really want to see them. But then I don't know, the sound on it was really bad. I don't know if it was just me or something, but I was like, no, this is what I remember NOFX shows like. And the last time we saw them, we were, Nate and me got to go side stage and they had a PA there and it was really good. I feel like that's good enough for me to remember them like. But I did see someone online, I can't remember what record label, they were going through the releases one by one and like kind of rating them and picking their best songs. And that got me thinking that I might want to do that like next week or sometime. Listen to each album again. Because I feel like I was later to the party on NOFX than like, let's say you guys. So I never really listened to, let's say, S&M Airlines. Like I have it, but it's not like I ever like really listened to it. Or it's Liberal Animation. Is that the first one? Well, Maximum.
No, Liberal Animation. You're right. That's the pun.
Animation?
Liberal Animation.
I don't know. Whatever. The one with the cows on the front. Like I don't think I know what's even on that album. I probably lose some punk rock points, but I don't even know what the like hit song off that album is, if there is one. I'd say Rib's the first one I listened to like on a regular basis, and that was again after probably White Trash and Two Heaves is the first one I actually owned.
Yeah, I think like we probably at the time would have gone through White Trash and then Punk and Trouble, and then probably back through the catalog from there.
Anyway, I mean, you can't argue the importance of NOFX. Like even if you don't like NOFX or certain aspects of them, like I don't think anybody can make a case that they weren't important or they don't have their place in punk rock history or alternative, any sort of music from the 90s till now. Like, so kudos to them. Kudos to the retirement. I'm still not 100% sure that they won't be back in some capacity playing a show.
They'll do it without Fat Mike.
In a few years. When
featuring Rome.
Sammy Hagar's going to do it.
Featuring Fletcher.
Fletcher's just looking to break some stuff, man.
How does that guy have money to replace all that gear? Like, that's what I don't get.
Well, I'm sure Fat Mike's replacing it. I think Fat Mike's got money. Maybe not. I'm assuming he does. But I'll be curious to see if the Fat Records sale rumors are true.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not here to speculate. So,
either way, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure at some point I'll check out the live concert footage and reminisce about that band. That's it. That's the wrap.
That's fair. What I've been listening to. First band, I've actually been listening to quite a bit lately. I'm not sure why. The last 2 weeks I was like crushing albums like a fiend. So it was hard to narrow it down to 4, but here's 4 that I thought were worth noting about. First one is a band called the Okimoniks. I think that's how you say it. The album's After Party Fever. They're from San Francisco, and they play a blend of 60s and 70s garage and punk rock. It's high energy. It's got lots of organ in it. I love the vocals, and they kind of remind me of the Detroit Cobras vocals, which I brought up on the last episode. And I just, I got those vibes with like more energy and less like more towards the punk garage sound than the soul sound. But it's a lot of fun. Put me in a good mood. It's the kind of album you want to hear at a dive bar or soundtracking a party night. So I recommend checking it out if that's your sort of thing. Next is RatBoy and their album Suburbia Calling. It's out on Hellcat Records. This album really shocked me because I dabbled in RatBoy a little bit before. And if you go way back in our episode thing, I believe I forgot that was a Simpsons reference, which is embarrassing to me. And Nate called me out on it. But dear old RatBoy.
That is a good Simpsons reference that I sort of forgot. Yeah, I did forget about that. I didn't pick up on that from the band. I was too consumed with the fact that I know you like that band only because of their name, or listened to them first because of the name.
No, actually, I didn't on this one. I can honestly say I listened to it just because it was on Hellcat, and I like to give anything on Hellcat a listen because I feel like Tim's pretty selective with what he puts on there, and most of the stuff he's done on there I like, and I like his production style, which this album is got his. You can tell his fingers are all over it. It's a blend of punk, ska, reggae, hip hop, and Britpop. And if you've listened to RatBoy before, that was all there, but it didn't seem cohesive. It kind of sounded like, oh, here's a Britpop song or here's a ska song, and now it's like all together. And it just really hit the spot. It's perfect in the Hellcat catalog. I recommend checking it out. Next band is called the Bad Ups, and the album is called Life of Sin. This is an album I think you might really like, Justin. They're a band from Philly. It's their debut release. It's on Jumpstart Records, and they play punk in the style of the 90s and early 2000s, so it really fits in with what we've been doing on the podcast. They have some ska and oi influences tossed in as well. If you're a fan of the Epitaph or Fat Sound and craving a good throwback to that era, this album is great. All of these songs could have easily appeared on a Fat comp or a Punkorama comp and had you wanting to check them out more. So I recommend looking into it. Really cool. I don't know a ton about their backstory because this is their first album. And I just came across it. Someone had sent me an email saying to check it out, I believe from Jumpstart, and I really liked it. So last one is another Hellcat release. So it's a double Hellcat shout out, but it's the Calamatixs. Did you check out?
I did. I've listened to a couple things, and I like it. I like it's. I like the sound, and I'm sure you're going to touch on this, so I'll be quiet and let you go. It's a great blend of reggae, ska, rocksteady, and roots. It's their debut on Hellcat. I've been waiting for this album since the singles came out, like basically a year ago. It's insane that Hellcat didn't put this out in the summer. Like, this is such a summer album, and for it to come out in October or end of September, it's like insane. Like, I get that if you live in California, it doesn't matter, but like, it's kind of hard to listen to an album like this when you're like huddled in your house drinking hot chocolate or something. Why won't they ever think about Wisconsin?
It's no one's thinking about Wisconsin. Actually, I've always wanted to go to Wisconsin. I have no idea why, but that's a sidebar we probably don't need to discuss on the podcast. Anyway, it's a modern throwback to that sound. It's done perfectly. Vocals are amazing. She's a great singer. The production's top notch. Again, you can see Tim's influence into this, and it's fun, energetic, and it's everything I wanted this album to be, other than that it didn't come out in the summer. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been listening to.
Great picks. Lots of good stuff there to check out, as always.
Remember to check it out on Instagram. We post we've been listening to in like a little graphic. You can find out what those albums were. So I guess we should move on to what happened in the year 2002.
We should. Let's give the year a recap.
First thing before we start, a little note. Phantom Planet's song California came out this year. And I think that's really the highlight of 2002.
Enough said. Wrap the episode.
Yeah. I did look into it. The OC did not start in 2002, so we maybe have to wait and let this discussion percolate for at least one more episode. But
at least it might be 2004 that OC came out. We'll have to look into it.
Well, just know that California came out, the best song about California ever, in 2002. Other than that, I'm going to try to keep this really short because I feel like we did a better job last episode of cutting it down. I think I got the episode to an hour and 30 minutes, which is a little bit better than the last few, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good job.
First thing, the war on terror dominated the political landscape. Probably should have been a war on the dudes who wore terror shirts because those guys are always assholes at shows. Sorry if you wear a terror shirt. I did look up. Terror formed in 2002, so maybe this joke was a little bit too soon. But I've always just noticed that guys that wear terror shirts, especially the basketball terror shirt, they're always like a jerk in the mosh pit. You just know they're going to be
Has
trouble.
Terror ever sold a shirt that has sleeves on it, though? That might not be their fault.
It's true. It's true. You sell a shirt sleeveless, you're asking for a certain kind of guy.
That's right.
I'm not even going to pretend that it's like a girl. It's going to be a guy. And you know what kind of guy? The kind of guy that's got barbed wire tattoo somewhere and maybe a Superman tattoo.
Yeah, basically like the backwards hat version of Madball fans.
We're just going to get beat up next time we see any hardcore kids, hey? Jokes aside, there's a lot of shit going on that revolved around the response to 9/11 and other conflicts in the world. There was an uptick in suicide bombings. There was the Bali attack, which was also insane and gets a lot less publicity than, let's say, any of the ones on American soil, but that's how the world works in North America. We seem to hyperfixate on what happens there. Either way, the landscape of the world seemed to have changed, and I think it stayed that way for a little while, and maybe still. I think we're just kind of getting out of the war on terror, like fear. Like I feel like the last few times I went through security at the airport, it was the first time in like a gazillion years where it didn't feel like it was a giant panic. So I could be making that up though. Maybe I just lucked out and had I didn't give off bad vibes. But this podcast is about music and culture and pop culture, so I'm going to worry about that stuff instead. It continued to be a hodgepodge of what was popular in the music world. But one of the big things was pop punk really saw a giant surge in popularity, crossing into the general mainstream. It influenced fashion and trends in a way that hadn't been seen in a long time. I'd almost compare it to the way grunge did it in the early 90s and mid 90s. There was like a crossover into fashion where you no longer could, I don't know how to put this without sounding like a snob. The way we dressed all of a sudden became the same way that like kids going to a club might dress. Or like you just couldn't tell anymore. Like, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just felt like we were outsiders for a while, and then all of a sudden, the way we dressed and looked was kind of normal. Not there's anything wrong, but I just like there was a certain look, and like there became the whole Hot Topic look. Bands like Blink, Sum 41, Good Charlotte were now pop music. Avril Lavigne became an icon for a generation of kids. Like I was talking to the singer of Beaches, and she was talking about Avril Lavigne and how much Avril Lavigne influenced her in life. And I was like, Avril Lavigne, like I couldn't equate that she was that much younger than us. And I was like, when Avril Lavigne came out to me, I feel like it was a joke almost.
Yeah.
And I don't realize how important she was, even though like I obviously she's like a giant pop star, but I never saw her as like influencing people in music. I just felt like she was just like another pop artist, right?
Yeah, but I think to a lot of people, like she was like got them into something that wasn't, like
Britney Spears,
true pop music, like Britney or Backstreet Boys or whatever. It was something that was different. My kid actually really likes Avril Lavigne. Like I put Skater Boy on her iPod, and she's all about it. And I'm like, you know what? She could do a whole lot worse. So
yeah, for sure. And like I think like the guys in Closet Monster were her backup band at that time too. So the Closet Monster were like a pretty low level punk rock band in Canada at the time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that they were part of it. And like, yeah, I don't think it was a shtick for her, I would think a little bit, but it's not bad music. Like you said, there's a lot worse that you could be listening to, and I don't have a problem with that influencing society and how it was. It was just a weird thing to look back on and think about how like it became mainstream all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was like we did talk about a few episodes ago where there's always we'd go to like basically every all ages show or that either we put on or bands played in or friends played in or bands that were coming through town. But then there would be other bands that would come, and all of a sudden you have all these like sort of jocks and snowboard crews and like people that are like, well, how come you're never at an all ages show, but you're here to see like Face to Face or Strung Out or whomever. And I was just like, oh, well, this is our thing, but now it's like a little bit bigger. Pop punk and like the 2000s pop punk explosion was like that times like 1,000. Like it was like, yeah, there was no, trying to say like, oh, I listened to Blink-182 2 albums ago, and people would be like, well, who cares? How, take off your pants and jacket sounds pretty funny.
Fair enough. It's true though. And then on top of that, you had like that whole garage rock revival from like New York, and like that was in full strides, and like the indie rock alternative stuff. So bands like the White Stripes and Strokes were getting huge and paved the way for so many other bands and to become popular and mainstream as well. Like those songs were in TV and commercials and stuff like that. I also think, and we touched on this in the last couple of episodes, because digital music became easier to consume. It was easier to find bands. So like you no longer had to seek out new bands. Like it was so easy to stumble upon something or like spend an hour on the internet and you could find a band that was probably playing like a garage like 2 weeks ago and then their MP3 got big or something like that. Like it was just the ways to consume music changed. Bands were uploading on things like on those sites, promoting themselves in a way that was not possible only a few years earlier. I just think that also contributed to being able to explore new things. And I think there was, because pop punk and like the culture became so mainstream, there was this drive by a lot of people to feel like, oh, I'm different. So like they sought out these smaller bands and made them bigger. Or at least that's how I looked at it. I don't know if you can recall that too or not.
Yeah, there was just an easier way to reach out, like, right? Like I think you touched on mp3.com and like how bands could like put themselves out there in ways that didn't exist before.
Yeah, like there was no way, like let's say your band was going to get heard by a person in like Florida before, but all of a sudden we were selling CDs in Florida or Europe and stuff just because we put a couple MP3s out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. 2002 also saw the rise of the Blink side project, speaking of pop punk bands. So you got Boxcar Racer and the Transplants. And I'm not 100% sure, but maybe Plus 44 came out that year. So that was fun. You saw electro and synth and new wave coming back in style. Like you saw bands like Hot Hot Heat and The Sounds. And that set the stage for bands like The Killers to explode again. Like there was just this difference. And like I believe maybe did the Green album come out this year too for Weezer? Like that exploded and like brought Weezer back into the vernacular again in a way that
is that like a Hash Pipe, which
like
is a
Hash
great
Pipe
song.
and that stuff like that.
Yeah,
things got huge in a way for alternative indie rock, punk rock in a way it hadn't been since I'd say the grunge era.
Yeah, it was. It's interesting, right? Because from I couldn't tell you what was happening in like, mainstream pop music or even hip hop. Aside from, I assume this is kind of like the Eminem, Jay-Z era. But like rock music really, like kind of like late 90s to early 2000s had the rise of like Creed, Stain, Disturbed.
Oh, yeah, there was that stuff too. So I didn't even touch
like
on
Linkin
that crap.
Park, but I think even that stuff started to fade a little bit. And it was like sort of setting the stage for the Strokes and the White Stripes and even like Modest Mouse and stuff like that to sort of make a comeback that had that little bit, I shouldn't say a little bit, like drastically dialed back, no ego rock starness to it.
Like basically the stuff you're going to hear on the OC soundtrack became mainstream. And I believe it was in like teen shows like One Tree Hill and that kind of stuff. Not that I was a big on teen dramas or anything like that. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, like I didn't watch anything from, or didn't watch One Tree Hill at all after the first 7 seasons.
It'd be like not watching The Wire. There's some significant deaths in music. I like that I laughed before I said there's some significant deaths in music. But if we can't laugh, Lisa Left Eye Lopez of TLC fame died. Apparently there's a documentary that's very good about them. The dude from Alice in Chains, who I have a soft spot for because the first 2 albums are really good. Warren Zevon. Do you know how to say it?
I don't.
Oh, all right. Well, Werewolves in London was a great Halloween song, so that's why I figured it was important he died. And the biggest for me was Joe Strummer. Passed away that year.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me, so raise a glass. Some of the big movies that came out, the Spider-Man movie, paving the way for various other Spider-Man movies. Some people have disagreed whether
one or
there was
two
a
of
need.
which were good.
The new ones are awesome.
The new ones are good, but man, did they put out a whole lot of shit. Oh my God.
The second Lord of the Rings came out. I assume it was popular. Lord of the Rings is not my kind of nerd. I'm very nerdy, but it's not my kind of nerd. Star Wars Episode 2. When I saw that, I was trying to remember, was the hype on the second one as much as Phantom Menace, or were people just like, fuck, Phantom Menace was so bad, I don't know if we need to see the second one? Or were people like, it's been some time since we saw Jar Jar, I gotta see Jar Jar again?
No, I think they cut Jar Jar out almost entirely from the second one because the
Yeah,
backlash was so bad. Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is one of those movies that I saw once and then never saw again.
If I remember correctly, this is the best of those three
Oh.
episodes.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out. I only bring this up because that movie really hit home as a child of Euro immigrants. There were so many things I could relate to in that movie. So there's still like a scene in there that I think about all the time where like the parents come to visit and the aunt's like, "Oh, you're a vegetarian? I'm gonna make you lamb." And I remember when you guys were vegetarians, and specifically you, my mom's like, "Oh, Justin's coming over. I'll make him chicken." I'm like, "No, vegetarians don't eat chicken." And she's like, "Lamb?" I'm like, "No." So I don't know what's up with Eastern Euros and not being able to figure out what the term vegetarian means. But anyway, that always hit home for me. TV was sort of the same as the last few years. The Osbournes started, which sort of struck me as weird, seeing one of my childhood idols on TV as a lost and bumbling dad instead of the guy who sang Bark at the Moon. It was kind of weird to get an insight into Ozzy's life.
Was it like, how did you feel about it? Was it tragic or was it like...
You know, at the time, I found it interesting because you could... He was human. It humanized him in a way that it had never been. Like, because you always heard the stories of Ozzy and how crazy he was. And like, I had seen him in concert before that and it was amazing. And he was like, but he was fucked up. And on the show, I guess like, it was kind of cool to see him as like a normal person, like trying to figure out how to work a remote control. And now that I'm older, I feel even more akin to him. But I mean, it's not like, at the same time, it's so cheesy too. Like, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Did you just sell out your life for some money? And maybe Ozzy needed the money. I don't know. It kickstarted his career, I think, again, in a way that maybe like it brought him into the pop culture world again, where he probably hadn't been for at least 10 years.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did get made fun of for having an Ozzy sticker on my car on numerous occasions by certain people. Not to name anybody.
Good thing you didn't have that car for too long.
I had it for a bit.
You did. You picked me up from school every day, so I shouldn't say shit.
But you did. American Idol started. I never watched American Idol. I have never watched one episode. The fact that it exists solidified my hatred for pop music and what the music industry, in my mind, can be. So,
100%. I hated everything that it stood for. Like
I know it
just the
spawned
idea
Kelly
of, like,
Clarkson.
this is what.
And Kelly
She
Clarkson
didn't win.
Yeah, and she didn't win.
No, she didn't win it.
Oh, I thought she won. But I mean, like, yeah, it spawned some people. But I think it just showed how, I think maybe coming from a DIY ethic and like seeing how hard punk bands were working at the time and like rock bands, and I'm assuming in all genres. And then you just see like somebody get like a game show thing and then they get a record deal and all this hype, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, it sort of trivialized the whole thing. I also stand corrected because I Googled it in this moment, and she did win it.
Oh, you Googled it?
Well, Wikipedia had.
We don't use Google here, Justin.
What do we use? mean, Bing.
Thank
Bing.
you. You do not
Bing.
want us to lose that sponsor. But yeah, it's just like always irked me, that kind of stuff. But whatever. I guess it's got its place. It's lasted longer. I mean, it's still on, I think, or at least some version of it. There's like other versions.
There's so many different versions of it. The other part that I didn't like about it was, and I guess this is probably what more music is than is not. But like they never sang. It was just a karaoke contest, right? It was like who could sing someone else's music.
Actually, that's a really good point. Do they? I don't even
best,
know.
and I'm like,
then
well,
they never write their own song. I guess not. Hey, but in pop music, I know you don't generally write your own music.
Yeah,
anyway.
you generally don't, right? And it's like the artists that actually do are kind of few and far between. And so it's awesome that, you know, like Taylor Swift does and Lady Gaga does, and there are a lot of other performers that do. But yeah, for sure, the majority of pop music is.
But yeah, anyway, Salt Lake City Olympics was that year. And I only bring this up because watching hockey in the Olympics was almost religious for me and synonymous with that year. Both the men's and women's Canadian teams became must-see TV. And going to that men's final is maybe a top 10 party moment for me. I believe you were there, right, Justin? I can't even recall, but I'm assuming you were there.
That was an afternoon.
It was definitely an afternoon. We got up really early to go to a bar and watch the game. We didn't make reservations, and I think we just stole some guy's seats. I had 2 huge papers due the next day that I hadn't even started. So that was a gamble. I think they gave us free booze for winning or even scoring. Was it scoring or winning? I don't know. There was a lot.
I can't even remember. It's just, like, I just remember our table being so full of pint glasses.
Yeah. Either way, I was incredibly inebriated. I had to go home and write those papers in a haze of day drunk or hangover. I'm not really sure at that point what it was. I'm sure they turned out great, and it's probably why I'm so successful in life right now. Also, our friend Dave, who listens to the podcast, left in the middle of the game, and he is also a huge hockey fan, which is so insane to think that he left in the middle of the day. And do you remember why he left in the middle of the game, Justin?
Yeah, because he was dog sitting and had to walk.
He had to walk both his dog.
Yeah.
I think that's the most hilarious thing ever. I know it's really personal. It doesn't really mean too much to too many people, but that just made me laugh a lot thinking about that. Either way, it was a blast. We won gold. It was fun. And that's 2002 in a nutshell, except for one thing that I forgot to bring up, and that was Michael Jackson dangled his baby outside of a balcony. And that image is still floating around these days. So parenting tip 101, do not dangle your kid off a balcony.
Slow down. I'm still writing this down.
Yep. Yes. Don't dangle your kid.
Got it. Don't. Okay.
At least don't get photographed doing it. That's probably the big thing. It's just don't do it in front of a bunch of paparazzi. It's the kind of thing that'll haunt you.
He was having a Suge Knight moment.
Yeah, maybe that kid tried to get some royalties out of him or something.
Yeah.
Oh, Vanilla Ice. That's the best Suge
I wonder
Knight story.
what is Michael Jackson's kid like?
One of them's like,
have they just avoided the spotlight entirely, or really?
Yeah, one of them is like, I feel like she either sings or she's like a model or is an influencer. Probably an influencer, because that seems to be a job for Nepo babies. But the other ones I've never heard anything about. There's 3, right? I don't know.
I have no idea. I did find it weird. Is it Kurt Cobain's daughter married
Tony Hawk's
son?
And they had a kid.
Yeah.
It's pop punk royalty, I guess. Pop punk and skate
That's right,
royalty
yeah.
uniting,
So
right?
Totally 90s.
The Vans Warped Tour sponsored baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just the baby's named Vans.
That's perfect. What a good way to end that part of the conversation for 2002, because that is so 2002. I'm assuming you don't have anything else to mention other than that.
Nope.
All right.
That's it. Great wrap on the year.
We can get to our wonderful picks, Justin. Let's see what we were listening to in 2002 that was not the song California by Phantom Planet.
All right. The year is 2002, and this was maybe the hardest time I had narrowing the list down out of all of these years so far. There was a lot of good stuff that came out, and I think where it comes from, as we touched on last episode, was pop punk and punk rock really sort of having a moment in the sun, and then the rise of emo and all of the sub-emo genres that come from it, merging with pop punk and really kind of creating probably the most diversification in like punk rock subgenres of like different sounds. And even if you take like the Blink-182 side projects, how a guy like Travis Barker can be drumming. I mean, he's a great drummer, but drumming in Blink and the Transplants and Boxcar Racer are all in the same year. That are 3 bands that sound nothing, really nothing alike. So yeah, just a really interesting year in music where things got really diversified. So nothing speaks more to diversity from the previous years that we've covered than my first pick, which is, of course, Simi Valley's very own Strung Out.
I was like, is he going to pick Strung Out? He's no way he's going for 3 times. But there you go.
I don't know why. I looked at my list over and over, and this is... I think we're not going to debate the first and which one's the first and which one's the second best Strung Out album, but this one is definitely the third best. And it's a great album. The album is American Paradox. It's the first one they do without Jim Cherry. And looking back through, because I was in the same path, I'm like, yeah, it came out, but there's no way I'm going to pick this. And then I started listening to it, and I'm like, no, this is a really good album. It's too good to not pass up on. I think it's the last... It's the last, sort of this, kind of closes off the trilogy of like what are the best Strung Out albums, and Strung Out is one of my favorite bands, so I could not help myself but to go back to this one.
I was gonna say I actually listened to it on Friday because I saw it and I was like, no, we can't pick it. We talk about Strung Out so much. Yeah, I forgot how good it is because I haven't listened to it in such a long time. It's awesome. I actually like this album a lot.
Yeah, it's more metal and less punky. There's more change ups and tempo changes and kind of things that kind of switch, but not as obviously as some of their previous stuff, which is probably like where they were taking the influence that Jim had in writing, but kind of putting their own spin on it. As a band, this is where I think like Jason Cruz, vocalist, like really took off. Like the production is really rich and layered and by a lot of counts probably overproduced. There's probably your thoughts on it. But there's so many like vocal harmonies throughout the whole recording and layering, and it just kind of I think adds a lot of interest to it. The album was recorded at West Beach Recorders, which is Brett Gurowitz's studio.
Oh, interesting.
So again, as they start to depart from all the things that they did with Jim, changing studios, another thing, like they kind of leave the kind of more traditional Fat Records roots, even though they put it out on Fat Records. And I think this was actually their highest debuted on the Billboard Top 200 at 185th, which is pretty legit placing for a punk band. I also think this album's interesting because the songs are a lot shorter than a lot of the other their previous albums. I think the whole thing clocks in at just over 40 minutes, which is pretty short, so it sounds a little bit more like an EP. But a number of really good tracks on this one. I think one of the standouts I really like is the song Satellite, which is weirdly almost like a ballad in Strung Out's own way. It's kind of a little bit more like personal and emotional, and probably the closest that they have to a ballad, which is still at 160 beats per minute or whatever. But the song I went with was the album opener, which is Velvet Alley, and it's just a banger of a track.
It is. This album art is so 2000, like early 2000s too. Like it looks like the kind of thing you'd get at a skate shop that was now in the mall.
100%. Yeah, like digital sort of like.
And I would have ate that up at the time. I'm not making fun of it. I just would have ate it up at the time. Again, I kind of forgot how good this album is because I kind of had gotten lost in the argument between Suburban and Twisted. But this album is really good. Good pick, Justin, even if we have to talk about Strung Out one more time. Maybe
Last time.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Until 2004.
My first pick is one of the bands I discovered on mp3.com. So it's right away something different that we hadn't heard before. The band is My Chemical Romance. The album is I Bought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love. I had mentioned before I was discovering more and more music via the internet with these sites, and this is in a pre-Bing world, so you couldn't just Bing something and find out. Did some searching. One of those bands that I did come across was My Chemical Romance. I'm going to guess I saw the title Vampires Will Never Hurt Us, and it instantly piqued my interest because that's how my brain works, and it led me looking more into them. I couldn't even order this album through my work at the time, so I actually mail ordered it from their record label or whatever at the time. But the minute I heard it, it was like all the energy I exactly wanted from a band. The album seemed to capture everything I loved about punk rock and emo at the time, and it was one part Misfits, one part AFI with a dash of Saves the Day, and it still had that chaos of local punk rock bands. Like, I just have an affinity for stuff that doesn't sound perfect, especially at that time. And I know we know how they all exploded, and I actually do really like almost everything My Chemical Romance has done, even though they've changed their set. I don't even know if they changed their sound. They just got like more produced and more theatrical, I would say. Is that?
Yeah, I think they just like became everything they thought they would be.
Yeah. but I just like I have an affinity for this album. I won't say it's their best album, but I just like it. It has a special place in my heart. I can't recall when we saw them at Warped Tour. Was it pre Three Cheers or was it on this album? Because no one was there to see them. It was like there was maybe like 15 people watching them, and they fucking blew up that stage. They were so good. They had so much energy and so much showmanship. It was so dusty and gross, but I couldn't like not sit and watch them. And
it would have been off this one. Like it wouldn't have been off Three Cheers. Three Cheers, like
or
such
Three
a
Cheers
big
was like coming out, like but they blew up like not long after that. They blew up like then they were like everywhere. I'm probably not going to sell anyone on this band. If you don't like them, you don't like them. If you like them, I'm preaching to the choir. But this is easily an album I'll always go back to and love. And I went with the song Our Lady of Sorrows because I just like that song a lot.
Awesome. Great pick. First picks for the year 2002. Strung Out off the album American Paradox, the song Velvet Alley.
My Chemical Romance, Our Lady of Sorrows off I Bought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love.
You can't make me see what you think I should know. We don't understand where I'm coming from. We're passing through worlds, no perception in time. I'm not the same as when I began. Show me, don't tell me what's going on inside your life.
right, on to our second picks for the year 2002. This is picking right up where I left off, I think a couple episodes ago, with a band that put out their first record and started work on their second one almost right away. Started shopping record labels while they were still, touring and pushing their first record, and landed themselves on Subsidy Records, which also led to their first record being re-released on that label. The band is Thrice, and the album is The Illusion of Safety. This one was recorded in 2001 by Brian McTernan, who I didn't know at the time, but he's the lead singer of Be Well.
Like the hardcore band?
Yeah, like the hardcore band.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, he used to play in a DC band called Battery, and had a recording studio that I guess he started like in his basement. But he kind of grew it from there, and had recorded this album for Thrice, and actually had a pretty sounds like a pretty heavy hand in, or at least a hand in production, and really trying to tie in like more of those hardcore elements, which probably leads to the sound that this album has, which is way more heavy than certainly Identity Crisis before it, or The Artist and the Ambulance afterwards, and who knows what happened to Thrice after this, but
something.
We don't talk about that. That's a different band. But yeah, way more kind of like metal, hardcore elements, more kind of breakdowns. So they still have a lot of the things that I love in the band, like the two-part guitar harmonies, but definitely like kind of more like edge to this one. And I love so many songs on this album, and think it just came together really, really well for this band, even though I know the band doesn't like necessarily going back to their earlier stuff. They did tour this album for its 20th anniversary, and it's pretty cool watching some of like the footage of them in 2022.
That's cool. I'm shocked that this wasn't done in like a giant studio, because it was such a leap in production value. And you could tell a producer's involved in it. 2, it is my favorite Thrice album by like a long shot. It's still an album I'll go listen to front to back. So I'm glad you picked it. It's a great album. Yeah,
I had a really hard time picking the song, but ended with To Wake and Avenge the Dead as the track on this one that, could have been almost anyone off this album. There's so many good songs on it.
One of my main gripes with Thrice is I've seen them live a bunch of times, and they've never captured this sound live. Like, I don't know why, or maybe it's the venues I've seen them in. Like, you've probably seen them more than I have, but I've never seen them capture what's so great about this album live, which has always disappointed me.
I am actually struggling to think if I have seen them live.
Well, you've definitely seen them live. I'm pretty sure I saw them with you.
I must have. There's also, this is a spoiler alert to a future pick, but I remember there was a show they were touring across the States. It was Strung Out, Thrice, and Coheed and Cambria on one bill, and I was trying to get you to go see it in like Seattle or LA with me.
Getting me to go do stuff. That sounds insane. Leaving the country, even more insane. I don't leave my bedroom. No, I'm just kidding. At this time, I'm kind of shocked I wouldn't have gone with you at that time. I was much more open.
I think we were pretty close to going, and then
just probably a money thing,
whatever,
more so than anything at that time.
Yeah. That's
right.
And then we're like, oh yeah, we make $7 an hour.
Yeah. My big record store check of $6.50 was for my 4 shifts a week I worked. Not full time. Probably wasn't cutting it. If I could have the money I have now, but the attitude I had when I was 22 would be great. And the freedom.
If only.
Yeah. But maybe not having the money was part of the freedom. I doubt it, but great pick, Justin. Okay. So my next pick was a band that when this came out, or when this album came out, I wasn't super stoked on it. The album art looked so outrageous that I was refused to listen to it, which sounds insane knowing me now, because outrageous art is usually like a sell for me. But at the time, I was just like, this is the worst. Like, why are people buying this album? Like, it kept going, like, flying off the shelves at the store I worked at. And I was like, I have no idea what's going on with this album. It looks like a bunch of kids. It like kids drew this thing. It would like had that glowing like neon light filter on it, and it just looked ridiculous. I also kept thinking it was a rap album. The artist is S.T.R.E.E.T.S. The album is Worms. S.T.R.E.E.T.S stands for skateboarding totally rules. Everything else totally sucks. So S.T.R.E.E.T.S are a Vancouver band, and if you listen to this podcast over the years, you know how stoked I am on them now. But at the time, I was not. Now, this is one of my favorite albums. If you haven't guessed, the whole album is about skating and thrashing and celebrating 80s punk, thrash, and skate culture. The intro on this album is them chanting, "Come on, everybody, grab your skate and let's go." And I think that's the most epic way to start an album for this kind of mood. Members of this band went on to perform in Pride Tiger, Bison BC, Hocus Stocus, and Children. This album was remastered and reissued by Riot Style quite a while ago now, but you can get them finally again. And if you haven't heard them, I suggest you get off your couch and grab your skate and pick it up. Also, side note, I cannot skate worth shit, but I like to play a guy at parties who can. So, and one fun thing I found out about this, and you'll like this, Justin, the song "Journey to the Promised Land" on 3 Inches of Blood's debut album was performed and written by S.T.R.E.E.T.S.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
I didn't either until I saw it online.
For anyone that hasn't heard hasn't heard S.T.R.E.E.T.S, when seeking them out, don't confuse them with the S.T.R.E.E.T s.
That's the hip hop guy, right?
Yeah, that'll lead to a lot of confusion as to how they made it onto this podcast.
They're actually kind of hard to find online because of that. Like even finding any information about them is really difficult, and because they're kind of defunct now, it's kind of hard. But you can find them on streaming services, and you use the dots between the letters for the band. The song I picked is called "Let's Get Rad." So, "Let's Get Rad" just sounds like this kind of song I'd like. That's why I picked it.
What a perfect fit for you. Let's do it, Mike. Let's get rad. Our second picks for the year 2002. It's Thrice off the album "The Illusion of Safety," "To Awake and Avenge the Dead."
S.T.R.E.E.T.S off the album Worms, "Let's Get Rad."
One friend they told me you were dead. They're just my guess.
leading off from our second picks, I've come to this realization, and it's maybe popped up in a couple other episodes, but we've never talked about it. I have this thing where in my head, a couple bands get like tangled together, and I can't separate them unless I'm very, very, very diligent about it. But S.T.R.E.E.T.S and The S.T.R.E.E.T.S is one of those bands that are forever mixed up in my head, and I would need to really think about, like, is this a skate punk band or a UK hip hop band? And there's a couple others that are like this, one of which is Hot Water Music and H2O, which have forever been tangled in my brain.
So I had the same problem, not with Streets. I have I think, again, like I touched on it, I refused to listen to the Streets album because I couldn't disassociate with the rapper Streets. And I just don't think I took the time to ask anybody else at work if it was a different band. I was like, why is this in the punk section or in the metal section and not in hip hop? And I just didn't care. That's why it took a long time. But H2O and Hot Water Music, 100% I have the same problem with. And it took me forever to listen to Hot Water Music, I think because I didn't love H2O or like that sound that much at the time.
Yeah, it took me a long time to listen to them. And I'd gone to a show at the Republic in Calgary. I can't remember which band, and ran into a buddy there of ours, Todd. And, between the bands, they were playing music over the PA, and he turned to me. He's like, "Oh, I love Hot Water Music," because Trusty Chords was playing. And in my head, I was just like, "No, Hot Water Music is like that New York band," and I couldn't I just kind of had to go along with it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, totally." And then I had to go back and really try to detangle it. And it took me years to get into Hot Water Music, but I'm glad I did because Trusty Chords is such a great song, maybe one of the best of the genre.
Spoiler alert, neither of us picked this album for this year.
Yeah, it gets an honorable co-mention, but not a pick. So let's talk about what we did pick. Coming in for me at number 3. This is a bit of I'm not going to say it's a shame pick, but I feel a little bit of shame putting in this, but I'm going to lean in. I'm going to brace 2002 Justin and the things that he was listening to. And I still will still go back and listen to this album from time to time and still enjoy a number of the songs on it. This band is the formation of a couple homeless drug addicts from Salt Lake City, Utah, that managed to find their way I think out to LA and somehow convince the lead singer of a punk ska band to record an album with them. The band is The Used, and they got John Feldman from Goldfinger to record this album. I think it was one of the first things that he produced.
I think it was this and maybe Story of the Year at the same time.
I think Story of the Year came the year after this, but because of what he had done, I think, with The Used. And this band sort of took off from literally from they squatted in houses and hauled gear into abandoned buildings or whatever it took to sort of jam and practice and put a band together. And somehow they just they obviously had something going for them, but just took off. And it's funny you mentioned the Osbournes earlier, because the lead singer dated Kelly Osbourne for, I don't know, I have no concept of time, but some period of time, enough that he was on the show, I think. That just kind of helped propel the band even more. And I don't know what it is about this album. I really it's got these little keyboardy digital bits interspersed with it. It's a really polished recording, despite how screamy it is. It's very poppy, it's pretty heavy. And I think there was also you'd see music videos or little clips online from the band performing. They were explosive on the stage, sort of at the drive-in-esque of just every show was leaving everything on the stage. And I don't know if I ever saw them live back in the day, but I imagine they would have been a great live show.
I was just trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen them live. Especially and I did like this album when it came out too. I do always feel a spiral of shame when I put it on. I don't know why. Is it? Yeah, is there some sort of weird stigma for liking this album? Because I feel the same way. I don't know why. What made them so much worse in my head than, let's say, I don't know, My Chemical Romance, right?
It's funny because that would be the shame continuum I would put them on, of My Chemical Romance, even 3 Cheers or The Black Parade. I'm no issues with that. Those are great albums by a great band. And then this one, I'm yeah, it's good, but I wouldn't I wouldn't hang the album on my wall.
Yeah, I would
sort of
never
sit
be
on the
like,
shelf.
yeah, it's a weird thing, and I don't think they ever did anything else that was like, in my opinion, worth listening to. I'm sure they
Yeah,
have.
I think the
some others.
next album has like some good tracks, but this one I think is the better of the two. And then sort of the last stop on that like shame continuum is like Good Charlotte, which like I think was like too far into like mall pop punk.
And now one of
for
them's married to
me.
the Kardashian, I think.
Yeah.
And Cameron Diaz is the other one married to. Like,
Yeah, I think one of them's like
bizarre is that?
that's super bizarre. And again, I don't know why I would like single out Good Charlotte, but even 20 years ago, I was just like, no, like I like punk rock, not
Yeah.
Good Charlotte.
Yeah, I feel like that way too. I got the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sidebar on that, I will say that one Warped Tour, those dudes were like, whether it was an act or not, they were like some of the nicest guys I ever met. Like they actually took the time to sit and ask us about the label and like, or ask me about the label and ask about the merch and stuff like that, and seemed genuinely interested in like what the Calgary scene was like at the time. And I was like, these guys, like they look so cheesy. I don't. There's just like a cheeseball factor. I don't like their music very much. There's a couple of songs here or there where I can like, put it on, but I would never like, like the equivalent of listening to a Cinderella song. But I will. But going back to the used, I actually
metal.
Going back to the used, I do really like this album. Like I again don't know why that it's embarrassing to like this album, but I do really like it. So good pick, Justin. What song did you end up going with?
I look forward to the high five chats
Oh,
conversations around the used. We'll see how this goes. Anyways, there it is. I'm putting myself out there with my third pick, the used self-titled album, and I went with the song "Buried Myself Alive."
Nice. Hopefully, I'll save our face a little bit here. My next pick is the Lawrence Arms. The album is Apathy and Exhaustion. It came out on Fat, and I believe this is their first Fat release. I can't remember if they had a split or a 7-inch before I was on Fat, but this is for sure their first full-length Fat release. I didn't really love the other Lawrence Arms albums. I mean, I like them, but I was such a huge fan of Slapstick. Shout out to you for getting me into Slapstick, because I definitely got into Slapstick.
Man, that's like two huge bands, that they spun out into. Yeah.
But because of my love for Slapstick, I kept holding out hopes there'd be a band that I wanted them to be. Guided had some good tracks, and Ghost Stories got better, but this is the first one I felt was like a full solid album, and it's something they would continue to do with each album afterwards, like write great albums. Apathy and Exhaustion is everything I love about the band. The use of both singers and styles throughout the album, the frantic Brendan Kelly songs and the slower melodic Chris songs, the switch from distorted to clean sounds on the album without it feeling like a different band has always impressed me. Like how they blended those two styles and then had it feel not different at all and continue with the storytelling is always impressed me. And again, you see the shift in Fat Records expanding beyond the Fat sound that it was associated with in the 90s, which I thought was an interesting thing. Like you really see as the 2000s go on, the difference on the Fat sound. Like it's no longer just No Use for a Name, Lagwagon. It's like an extension in the punk rock world, because Lawrence Arms doesn't sound like a Fat band. Like, I mean, maybe now people associate it with Fat, but when it came out on Fat, it didn't feel like a Fat band at all. And the song I picked was Abracadabra.
What a great song title.
Yeah, they're great at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Also a band I've never seen before. Have you seen Lawrence Arms? I've never seen them. I've seen Brandon Kelly, but I've never seen Lawrence Arms.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the Lawrence Arms.
I'd like to see them.
I was definitely late to the party. I don't think I really listened to them that much until Calcutta, or maybe The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Which is maybe the next one, The Greatest Story Ever Told.
The next one. Yeah.
Yeah. They consistently got better. Or I've always really wanted to go. They do that like kind of Christmas show thing in Chicago. It would always be good to go there, but traveling at Christmas isn't exactly the easiest. Traveling, getting off my ass and seeing a band is always a difficult thing mentally for me. Anyway,
so safe to say this is not going to happen.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows, Justin? Maybe 2025 is my year. Who knows? It's my midlife crisis. I'll start going to shows all the time, or venture out of my street.
And we can all be okay with that.
Okay. Thanks,
I did think it was worthwhile mentioning No Use for a Name, who put out Hard Rock Bottom in 2002.
Also great.
Also great. It does have International U Day, which I think is my favorite No Use for a Name song.
Great song. But
so many other good things out in 2002, so it didn't make the final cut.
So you went with the used over. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Well, I'm glad you were there with the Lawrence Arms to save our cred.
Okay.
The middle picks for the year 2002, I went with the used self-titled and the song Buried Myself Alive.
Lawrence Arms, Apathy and Exhaustion, and the song is Abracadaver.
Almost always pick the best time to drop the worst lines. You almost made me cry again this time. Another false alarm, red flashing lights. Well, this time I'm not going to watch myself die. I think I made it a game to play your game and let myself cry. Buried myself alive on the inside, so I can shut you out and let you go away for a long time. God, I guess it's okay, I puked the day away. I guess it's better you trapped yourself in your own way. And if you want me back, you're gonna have to ask. I think the chain broke away and I felt it the day that I had my own time and took advantage of myself and felt fine. But it was worth the night. I caught an early flight and I made it home. I guess it's okay, I puked the day away. I guess it's better you trapped yourself in your own way. That if you want me back, you're gonna have to ask nicer than that. Nicer than that. With my foot on your neck, I finally have you right where I want you. 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 I guess it's okay, I puked the day away. I guess it's better you trapped yourself in your own way. That if you want me back, you're gonna have to ask nicer than that. Nicer than that. That if you want me back, you're gonna have to ask nicer. Bright and burn and blue, stretch your arms out above me. I know that you still love me like you did. Copper brown and orange red, burn the words that I never said. I'm swallowing
right, so more post analysis on the picks, and just sort of thinking through this idea of like why it feels okay to like some bands and weird to like others, especially from this time. And I was sort of having this thought around like on my shame continuum of like,
Should we call this episode the Shame Continuum?
the shame continuum. Yeah, we're gonna draw it all out. Start plotting bands on it. Like My Chemical Romance was legit because they sort of like came out of nothing, and you know, it was not Jeff Buckley, Jeff,
The guy from Thursday.
the guy from Thursday.
Yeah,
It sounds like Jeff
Rickley?
Buckley, but it's
Rickley?
not. Rickley, something like that. Like, okay, so now My Chemical Romance has like some cred there, and The Used was like, you know, well, they were that weird band from the Osbournes, but you know, it was John Feldman, but that recorded the album, so they've got like Goldfinger cred. And then for me, like Good Charlotte, I'm like, I know nothing about this band. They came out of nowhere, therefore they must sort of be nothing. And like Simple Plan would be the same thing from a Canadian perspective, although
I think they were pretty upfront with what they were doing, right? Simple Plan was like,
yeah, I don't think they were that.
their name
well,
is like
I think it
on
was
the
well
button.
known. Yeah, yeah, well known that it was literally a simple plan to like sell more records than Reset ever could. So, but yeah, like again, there was no like connection for a band like Good Charlotte back to the other bands I was listening to. Therefore, I couldn't like them because it would be a band like that, you know, some kid at the mall would like, even though they would also like The Used and My Chemical Romance. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but
I'm wondering if it's because at this time, like we talked about, because all the stuff is so, it's part of pop culture. So there are good albums being written and record labels are grabbing bands that you didn't know about. And there's good albums being written, but they're also being sold in the same way that like the bands on Sunset Strip were being sold. Like I was watching that documentary on Sunset Strip the other day, and they were like, even a band like Poison, who I've always made fun of, really just were DIY, and they put out their own first album and stuff like that, but they just blew up. And because everyone was grabbing something, there were so many of these bands, and they all put out similar sounding things. So if you stumbled on, let's say, like The Used, and you liked it, but it was on a major label, it was getting radio play, video play, you were like, felt weird about liking it because you, like you said, it had no connection to the other stuff that we'd been liking. Like, it wasn't like they were on Fat Records or something like that. And then you were like, oh, well, like they did some research, or Fat's not just going to put out a band to sell out, which I'm sure there's like, and then it's funny because I'm sure there's punk guys or punk people that were like, if it's on Fat, it's shitty. It's like it's already selling out if it's on Fat. I believe one of the bands actually it could have been picked in this episode was Against Me. And I feel like Against Me got so much backlash when they signed to Fat because they were like, Fat's a sellout label. And can you like just think about like how ridiculous that sounds now for like Against Me?
Yeah, the totally independent label. But yeah, they got so much shit for that.
Yeah. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see if anybody wants to discuss this further, because the shame spectrum is pretty interesting and why it exists. I think we're better at it now with like, I don't know if it's because I'm older and I don't care, but I feel like it's okay now to like bands regardless, or maybe because there is no essence of selling out or record label influence anymore. It's just like, this is it. So like it or don't like it, I don't care. If you don't like it, go listen to something else.
Also, my mid-podcast research, which I can't help myself from doing, because it actually made me curious, because looking back, I'm like, I remember there was something about like Good Charlotte hanging out with like Tim Armstrong, or he's in like one of their music videos or something like that. And it's like, that's like weird cred to get. But Josh Freese was also the drummer on the album, I think, their first album.
Really?
Their second album. Yeah. And some of the songs were written by John Feldman from Goldfinger.
Full circle.
Taking that Tony Hawk money and just spreading it everywhere.
But even Goldfinger always had that stigma around them. They were like, what's this deal with Goldfinger?
True.
They're kind of weird. They didn't put their effort in. Like even a band like No Doubt never really got that stigma because everyone knew No Doubt put in their effort playing like local, but Goldfinger just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. And I don't know if other genres of music have the same sort of stigma that punk does, where like there's like I guess indie rock would also have it. There's like a side eye to it, how a band comes up. But let's. Is your next pick pretty sleazy and shameful to?
No, it's the exact opposite. This is a band that has probably turned more people off than have become fans of them. But they have I would say, a very engaged and loyal following, much like any other super nerdy type venture. This band started out releasing an album as well as a comic book series, which kind of alludes to some of those nerdy elements. And the entire existence of the band, or at least 5 of their 8 or so studio albums, are around a conceptualized science fiction story that is way too complicated for me to even try to understand or really care about that much. But just, the total opposite of mall punk or mall emo. The band themselves have a lot of sort of musical throws to bands like Rush or King Diamond, or even sort of the more obscure Iron Maiden stuff. Elements of not quite punk. It's actually interesting that they're sort of even in consideration for being a punk band, and maybe they're really not at all. They're kind of all over the place, and maybe have one of the most polarizing lead singers in Claudio Sanchez. So the band is Coheed and Cambria. The album is the second stage Turbine Blade, and this album is it's an interesting one to come out in 2002, and I think very, very different than a lot of other things that were making it big. And again, I actually don't have no idea how big this album actually is outside of the Coheed and Cambria sort of fandom.
So it's interesting. This is another one I discovered on mp3.com at the time. I remember thinking it was so different, but still like punky. But yeah, like you said, punky, but metal. And the vocals were so different that I liked it. Like, I don't think I put together the storyline at the time, but I liked it. And I think, again, because things were changing and because you could find so many different things, you were accepting of different like subgenres more so than even years in the few years earlier.
They have some songs that have like some of the best pop hooks I think I've ever heard in punk rock in the most broad sense. Like even on some of their more recent albums, there's like these songs that just like.
But I think it's because they're a rock band, and in essence, they're a rock band, and they write riffs, right? They do a good job of that when it's not too proggy. The rock riffs are very, and almost in a way like, and not in any way do they sound similar, but almost in a way that Weezer does it. Like Weezer writes really good rock riffs, and when it hits, it's so poppy that it's excellent.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're like, this is like, it's like stadium rock, and it's, probably when they like really sort of tap into those like, like big arena rock kind of sounds, and they just they can do that really well, and they can also write really super bizarre broken time signature kind of stuff. Just they're a really interesting band to listen to if you like them. And I would never, if somebody was like, oh, I don't really like that band, I'd be like, well, I totally get that. That's this is not a band for anyone, and pretty hard to convince people if they haven't gotten into it before.
The only album of theirs I think that is like more punk than the other ones, like because there's like the songs are shorter. This would be the most probably the most approachable, at least, or at least the least proggy out of all of them. So either way, I listen to this album still quite a lot. I may actually go back to this one more than anything else of theirs. Like this one, cover to cover. It also sounds like, on a good sound system, it sounds incredible. It's such a great recording. So yeah, Coheed and Cambria, the second stage Turbine Blade. And there's a number of tracks I like on this one. I ultimately went tried and true with Devil in Jersey City, which is one of my all-time faves. It's a great song. It always gets me excited. Good pick, Justin. Interesting band to put on here, but a great pick. And nothing to be embarrassed about. My next band is a band that had been around for a while, but I didn't really love until this album came out. The band is Piebald. The album is We Are the Only Friends We Have. Came out in February of 2002. I feel like our friends really like Piebald, and ironically, in our group chat today, they were talking about seeing Piebald at like one of the smallest venues in town that put on all ages shows years before this came out, and about how great it was. And I was like, I didn't get it until this album. And looking back, I can see how polished and rock this album is compared to the previous albums. And maybe that's what I liked about it. The riffs are very rock and roll. So kind of like we were talking about with Coheed there. They have the same sort of riffs that Weezer does and the Pixies. And they just really leaned into it on this album as opposed to the other albums. Like they were less emo, I guess, on this album than the other ones. His voice, again, is also a very distinct voice that you can either like or dislike. And I went back and looked at some of the reviews, and it really got panned by punk rock fans. I'm guessing it was the production and the jump more into rock and pop sound. And I wonder if those people that wrote those reviews look back and listen now without the stigma of sellout-y sound and see if they still hate this album or if they really like it. Because I think it's phenomenal. I'm not sure if you're a big fan of Piebald. I feel like the voice would not be your jam.
I actually really like this album, and I'm glad you picked it. I can't say that I'm I have listened to all their stuff or have any like thoughts or feelings about, you know, their older sound versus this one, but there's a number of songs on this album that I really like.
Yeah, and like again, the riff stuff. I think for someone like you, I think you would really like that sort of thing too. Like they almost have a stadium sound for like, which is weird for a band like this on this album. It was really hard to pick a song because American Hearts is probably one of my all-time favorite songs, and I instantly get stoked when that song's on. But I think we've played it maybe once or twice on the podcast. I know Nate's picked it, and I'm sure I have. So the song I went with is called The Stalker. Just another good classic song.
Great pick. Also, I love Long Nights as well, just the way it starts out.
Oh, yeah.
Long Nights, Hard Times.
Such a good, yeah. And I think it's insane that they play, like for Calgary people, apparently they played Hounsfield Heights, which is like the smallest community hall we ever put shows on in. Like, was there a smaller community? Yeah. Like
great if you're in a band, because 60 people in there makes you feel like you're.
Yeah, I felt like it was a great show.
Playing in front of thousands.
Love this album. Love the band. Also another band I've never seen and would really like to see. Apparently they play the festival in Vegas.
Maybe you can get them to play Hounsfield Heights again.
Hounsfield's gone. Just like Blue Dolphin. Johnny's ass up.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's from I Think You Should Leave in the Dangerous Nights Crew one. Thanks, Justin, for not getting my joke. Just assume that nobody else will get it either.
Yeah, you might be right about that. All right. Fourth picks for the year 2002. I went with Coheed and Cambria, Second Stage. Turbine Blade is the album, and the song is the classic Devil in Jersey City.
Piebald, The Stalker off We Are the Only Friends We Have.
Jersey bound and sound asleep, they'll find you at your most vulnerable position. Speak up, let out, and down the street the corner boys fuck shit up. Scream loud, scream sayonara, oh oh. Sweet Josephine, will you follow me home? Scream loud, scream sayonara, oh oh. Sweet Josephine, will you fuck me back home? Let's fire it up, ha ha, let's fire it up, ha ha, when you're down on the floor bleeding past the home, you'll be getting home real soon. And I'll pray for you, high health. Don't let them scare you. When you're down on the floor bleeding past the home, you'll be getting home real soon. Speak up, let out, caught in the crossfire. Prepare to step to the bone that might break. It's too late to find a better way out of this. With the finest regard that I lost in the cracks of this street. Scream loud, scream sayonara, oh oh. Sweet Josephine, will you follow me home? windows at night, watching you sleep. I will see you at your big game. Oh, I'll be at the same parties as you, and I'll meet you in the closet. I'll follow you home when the sun comes up. Oh, don't think I don't know what suits you well, yeah. Don't think I don't know what suits you, yeah. Don't think I don't know what suits you well, yeah. Don't think I don't know.
Good pick, Justin. Always like listening to Coheed. Thank you, listeners, for listening to our podcast. It seems like every episode we get a few more listeners, so it's really cool. We never used to track that stuff, but now I have access to tracking it, so I'm always kind of shocked at how many people listen to the episodes. So I really do appreciate everybody that's listening. And if you're a new listener, we really appreciate it. And keep telling your friends that like this kind of music to have a listen. And we like getting lists, so if you want to participate and you want to send us a list of the albums that you think work for this year or for any of the other episodes, we love seeing them and posting them in our chat and on our Instagram. Thank you to the WhatsApp group for always being entertaining and supporting us so much. If you'd like to join our WhatsApp group and talk about music, specifically Strung Out albums and or random things happening in Australia for some unknown reason, or just random conversation. It's a really fun and supportive group. So if you want to do that, just reach out and we can get you in there. Justin, thank you for doing this with me. It's we're at how many episodes together now? 4 or 5?
Too many, I think, is what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I heard you telling our friends the other day you're out.
I think I said I was going to start a new podcast with Nate.
Once you're in, you're in. It's like a blood in, blood out sort of thing.
But you're going to patch me over?
Yeah. So patch you over. You're stuck, man. But I do appreciate you hanging out with me and discussing music and letting us continue the podcast. And I do really enjoy all these conversations. Thank you to anybody that sent in a list. If you listen to the podcast and you like it, like I said, share with a friend. That's better than anything. But you can also rate us on any of the streaming services or leave a comment on one of the episodes. You can find us on Instagram at High Fives Podcast. And that's it, I think. Do you want to say thank you to anybody? I know you don't like saying thanks to anybody.
No, I got no one to thank, Mike, aside from you for having me on this podcast. It is a lot of fun.
Excellent. I like talking music with you. It's like we're young again. I guess we should get to our last pick so we don't drag this episode out even longer. What shame spiral pick do you have for me now, Justin?
I am fully leaning into this one. When I come back to, or if I think about the, like the desert island question of, you're stranded on a desert island and only have like 5 or 10 albums to listen to for the rest of your life or until you're rescued. This album is coming with me. It's in the chest. It's in the vault. It's in whatever format gets you onto a desert island with a.
Why are you taking a vault on a desert island with you? It seems like a very hard thing to bring into a desert island, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. My first choice would be to bring things that would actually get me rescued, but if it's going to be music related, it's going to be this album amongst a handful of others that would make the cut. A select handful of others that would make the cut. The album was recorded in the cold Jersey winter of back in 2001, 2002. It's the first release from.
Do they even know what winter's like in America? I don't know.
I think Jersey gets cold.
No, it doesn't.
Seems
just
like
kidding. Of course, it gets cold.
Bitter place. It gets lots of snow. They got those nor'easterners.
I'm just kidding. This is my Canadian bias.
That's why everyone from Jersey seems to have a chip on their shoulder about something.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
First release from this band that I would say is probably one of the most influential bands off this time and off this genre, whatever we want to call this genre. But the band is Taking Back Sunday, and the album is Tell All Your Friends, and it is one of my faves. I love this album. Every single song on it is fantastic. It's great from start to finish. It's only like 33 minutes long, so maybe that was the key, is not to let it drag out. This album has actually gone platinum. Took
Really?
almost 20 years, but it is a platinum album. They sold over 1 million copies of it, which is crazy for for a band that as big as this genre was. Like, let's be honest, this isn't even at its biggest, mainstream radio, huge play kind of stuff. So I think this really speaks to how important and influential this band was, and really kind of kickstarted, the next 5 or 6 years of, I would say, like an acceptance of screaming and shouting and just like really kind of bringing that sound to pop music or poppier music.
Wearing your heart on your sleeve in your songs to an absurd amount.
And every song, not being about general feelings, but about very specific moments when somebody did something to you and you're going to tell the world about it. This album's also got a lot of, I don't know if it's, I guess we'll go with folklore around it. Trying to track the drama that follows this band it's like a soap opera.
It's a good internet read.
Yeah, it's between, this band's connections with Jesse Lacey from Brand New, and who was with whose girlfriend at the time, and somebody's sister, and a whole bunch of stuff. It was like, I started reading it, and I'm like,
high school drama and like
totally.
a song.
I was going to try to do a quick recap for this episode, and I'm like, you know what? I'm too old to care about this kind of stuff. I just want to listen to a great album, and Tell All Your Friends is just that. I remember hearing this album, I think for the first time. I was in Tyler's car, driving around in his car, and he was just like, "Oh, you got to check out this band," and he put it on for me, and I was just like, "Oh, so this I can tell you, I was actually not far from your house, like driving down Canyon Meadows Drive, and distinctly remember hearing There's No I in Team, and just the two vocals back and forth, and like, the directness and the emotion in the lyrics of, best friends means you pull the trigger. Like, I'm like, awesome. Like there's no batting around what that might mean. It's pretty direct and to the point.
Yeah, this album, it holds a special place in my heart. I love it. Can always listen to it. Again, the lyrics still make me kind of, like, as an adult now, makes me laugh a little bit. But I also catch myself like screaming and like in a car driving, and like it invokes an emotion somehow, even though it's ridiculous. And yeah, like the next album's good-ish, and then it's like smattering of okay singles. Yeah. There's some good stuff here and there, like, but nothing's a full album like this one. Again, not a band I've ever seen live, which is really funny because I'm surprised they didn't come through here, or if they did come through here, I didn't pay attention. But I feel like this was a point in my life where I had free tickets to concerts, so I would have been cheap and went.
Yeah, I don't think I have seen them either. And
maybe like Warped Tour with some. Yeah, who knows? Warped Tour is like a weird thing I never considered seeing bands at Warped Tour as seing bands. It was too dusty and gross most of the time.
Yeah, if I did see them, it would have been Warped Tour in probably 2003. They did play in Calgary not terribly long ago.
Yeah, I think like this past summer, but I didn't go see them.
Yeah, neither did I. But yeah, love this album. One of my all-time favorites. And pretty hard to pick one song, but I did go with one of the all-time classics, which is There's No I in Team.
Great pick. Great album, Justin. Glad you picked it. I 100% would have had this on my list. So great pick. My next pick is a band called Pretty Girls Make Graves and their album Good Health. This was originally released on Lookout Records, but blew up quickly and was released on Matador. Pretty Girls Make Graves came out of the ashes of Murder City Devils, whom I'm assuming you know I love. Derek and Andrea had played in a Seattle band called The Hookers, and shortly after the Murder City Devils broke up, they formed Pretty Girls Make Graves. Good Health is symbolic of what was happening in music in 2002, in my opinion. It was indie rock, it was post-rock, it was chaotic, it was punk, it was hardcore, and somehow it was palatable in a pop rock world for people not into any of that stuff. It was cool for hipsters to like them, but also punk kids liked them, and indie rock kids liked them. They're just somehow eclipsed all these things without getting the stigma of, let's say, used. Sadly, nothing they did after this lived up to this album, in my opinion. I did see they reunited and were playing a festival in Vegas, which is either the one that was this weekend, which is called what was it called? As we were friends
Best
festival.
Friends Forever, I think, was this weekend. When we were young, it was in a couple weekends.
I can't remember which one they were playing, but they were reuniting and playing this album in full. And I also noticed that Off With Their Heads covered the song I picked on their latest release, which is pretty rad. It's a flawless record, but the track I went with is Speakers Push the Air. It's the best track on the album, and I decided to go with it.
So I admittedly don't know a lot about Pretty Girls Make Graves, but were they called Pretty Girls Make Pretty Graves at one point, or was that internet or pre-internet folklore?
I think that's pre-internet folklore. This is named after the Smith song Pretty Girls Make Graves, which is, I believe, is a reference to a Kerouac poem, maybe, or something. I don't know. Some sort of uber nerdy literature thing.
You're so learned.
That's me. I'm so scholarly. I'm studious and scholarly. Yeah, I'm not sure if Pretty Girls Make Graves would be your thing, because I don't think you really like Murder City Devils all that much. Like, I think there's times when you like them, but...
Yeah, I think they've similar to... I think we probably touched on this as well. Like similar to like Rocket from the Crypt, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Like
same sort of.
Yeah, it definitely has its place, and I can see the appeal of it. Just never got into it.
Fair enough. You might like the song though, if you listen to it. Like I said, I just don't really like the rest of the stuff they did. I think the album after this actually did better, but I did notice that when I was doing research, this was on like Spin's like top albums of all time, which was kind of shocking. Or like Stereo Gun, one of those like publications had a top albums of like the last like 20 years, and it was on there as like one of the best albums. So I'm not totally out there by suggesting it's good.
Just also going to say that Pretty Girls Make Graves is an awesome name for a mall screamo band.
Yes,
like they would have sold so many shirts at Hot Topic.
They probably did. Maybe they did. I don't know. I'll just make a shirt. It won't have anything to do with the band or the Smiths. Just be a graveyard ghoul. Now I'm just ranting, Justin. Go on. Tell us what your song was.
For my last and final pick of the year 2002, I went with Taking Back Sunday's debut album, Tell All Your Friends, and the song There's No I in Team.
Pretty Girls Make Graves. The album's Good Health. The song is Speakers Push the Air. Thank you so much for listening. Stay cool and be excellent to each other.
Something I couldn't finish. And if we go down together. Best friends means, well, best friends mean. And I've got a 20 you deserve. Best friend thinks I pull the trigger. Best friend thinks you get what you deserve. Yeah!